Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know that Puerto Rican artist Bad Bunny is going to be headlining the Super Bowl halftime show in 2026. So if you have no idea who Bad Bunny is, or you don't listen to reggaeton, and you want to make sure that you are not completely lost during the Super Bowl halftime show, this episode is for you. I talked to Puerto Rican linguist Adriana Lopez, and we break down one of Bad Bunny's iconic songs that you'll definitely hear during the halftime show. Entonces, vamos a empezar. Let's get started.
Bienvenidos.
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 Welcome to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast.
Here's your host,
Certified language coach,
Tamara Marie.
Hola, Adriana. Bienvenida al podcast Learn Spanish con Salsa.
Hola, gracias por tenerme. Thanks for having me.
Adriana, so I just wanted you to just introduce yourself for our audience, for folks who might not know about you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience with Puerto Rican Spanish.
So I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. My family is originally from Cuidado. I am now currently living in San Juan, but I was living abroad for a time. So I did my bachelor's degree in Puerto Rico. So I spent all my childhood all the way until university here in Puerto Rico. And then for my master's degree is when I moved out from the island for the first time. So from there, I went to Europe to study applied linguistics. So that is my master's. And then after that, I spent some years traveling and teaching English and Spanish in Europe. So that's where I really started to really fall in love with Puerto Rican Spanish and Spanish as a whole, because I started teaching it. I also have an Instagram page, and it's all about Puerto Rican Spanish. So I also talk about Puerto Rican words and Puerto Rican phrases. So that one is called Idiomas Coqui. You can find us on Instagram and on Facebook.
I do think it's interesting because the first time I went to Puerto Rico, I know that, I had this idea in my head, like I think most like native English speakers, like, oh, I learned some Spanish in high school or whatever, and like I'll be fine. And I just know like it's so different. There's so many different things about Puerto Rican Spanish that are different. And for me, the reason why I love it so much, one, I love like the rhythm of the language, but also because I love salsa. Of course, this is Learn Spanish con Salsa. So I started learning how to dance. I was listening to the music and I wanted to know what it meant. And one of the things for me that's so powerful about learning through music is not only do you learn, phrases and things like that, you learn a little bit of grammar, but you also learn about the people and the culture, which I think is the most important part, because I think learning a language is to be good at grammar and to say you have like, I don't know, like level C1 or whatever in 20 languages. Like, that's great.
Yeah,
but
that's
if you
kind of the standard,
yeah,
that's how you know that you know a language for sure.
yeah. But then it's like if you go somewhere and you can't speak to people, it's like, what was the point of doing that? So I love it for that reason. And also being from the US, like I don't need a passport to go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a very accessible Spanish speaking country, I would say. But not a lot of people or a lot of Puerto Ricans like to bash on our Puerto Rican Spanish because we don't think it's proper. So
Right.
a lot of the time, a lot of people will say things like, don't teach Puerto Rican Spanish. It's not, you need to teach proper Spanish. And then proper Spanish is what people learn. And then they feel like they're not able to talk to us because, again, we don't speak this textbook proper Spanish. We speak our Spanish that has its own sazon. It has its own flavor. It has its own history. Just like any other variety of Spanish, it has its own history, its own influences, and all of that impacts the music and the language. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important to learn context too, right? So obviously, if you're learning Spanish for work or you're in a professional setting, you're not gonna, go in there and say, "Oh, I need to learn how to talk like Bad Bunny." Like that's not a thing.
Precisely, exactly.
But
Everything. Why are you learning the language? Are you
Right.
learning to speak with family and friends? Are you learning for work? Are you learning for studies? Like, yeah, that's the beauty of language. Like, we need it for a purpose, right? It serves a purpose.
yeah,
So,
and even if you are learning for work, you do have to leave work at some time, right? So
exactly.
you have to talk to people when you're on break, when you're out, so I think that it's important to understand both. But I also think it's just important to be interested in what you're learning. So I know for me, if I was learning for work, I probably wouldn't have gotten very far. But because I love the culture, I love the music, it just sort of naturally draws you in. And I think it's also a critical time now that we're talking about this because with the Super Bowl coming up here.
Sure. I mean, I think I've heard more people call it the Bad Bunny Bowl.
Yeah, I've heard of Bonito Bowl. There's like a party going on, like a Bonito Bowl.
No, for sure. People are super excited for Bad Bunny, which makes me happy because again, it's people are excited for Puerto Rican music because again, this Bad Bunny. I mean, Bad Bunny is a very versatile artist. He's made reggaeton albums. He's made albums that were full trap music, like Latino trap music. He's made albums where he touches upon like different genres, but this one was special because it was all Puerto Rican beats, Puerto Rican music in all of its shapes and forms, like salsa and bolero and reggaeton and dembow and all of it all at
Everything.
once. So I'm very excited that people are excited to hear about all of the music that Puerto Rico has to offer.
Yeah, and I loved it too because I felt like it was more of like an homage to all of the different genres of music from Puerto Rico, and also those that like when you go there now, it's like, oh, that's what the old people listen to. You know, it's like, oh, my parents know how to dance salsa. I don't. Like, I even saw Bad Bunny in an interview. He was like, yeah, I was actually learning how to dance salsa.
For sure. Which I mean, we see all of that. I mean, not only in the whole album, but also NUEVAYoL, which is the first song of this album. You see that plain as day. Kind of like that's the whole. I feel like that not only is it a cultural connection with people who are living in the U.S., like the what we call a Diaspora, Puerto Rican, but also right connecting generations of people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very nice thing. I feel like it's a very beautiful thing, and you can really see the amount of love and effort that he put into that particular album and the concerts and the tour and everything involved in that project of Debí tirar más fotos is pure love and effort, and
absolutely. So let's get into it. Let's talk about then the lyrics to the song Okay, so we have to first start talking about it with just the name of the song, right?
For sure. I mean,
so the song is NUEVAYoL.
NUEVAYoL, right? So NUEVAYoL, the title. Of course, it's the Puerto Rican pronunciation of Nueva York, which means New York in Spanish, right? We call it Nueva York, and Puerto Ricans, we shorten it and we just call it NUEVAYoL.
And also that yol, like to me, I always laugh because I think it's so hard to talk that way. I was like, how are they replacing the R with an L? It's so like difficult.
Yeah.
So it's a shortening, but it's also we're actually changing that R to an L.
It's that effort of trying to say York, which is not a Spanish word. We're just trying to pronounce it as best as we can. And it just ends up sounding like yol, especially the more your accent is pronounced, right? The heavier the accent, the more you're going to sound like NUEVAYoL. The lesser your accent is, then you'll probably sound like Nueva York. And then you just have the LK. So it depends on the accent. But yeah, a lot of people just say Nueva York.
And it also kind of trails up at the end. So it's like, you don't really hear, you kind of get the idea, right?
Yeah. But it also is a very common occurrence because the R sound and the L sound are both in the same part of the mouth. It's in the front of the mouth, and you're doing the same thing with your tongue. Because when you're pronouncing the L, you just push the top of your tongue against the back of your teeth on the top. So you just go, But then you're doing the same thing with the R, just so you're just tapping it multiple times on the top of the mouth. So it's a very common occurrence that not only in Spanish, but other languages, you'll have this kind of switch between the R and the L. That's kind of a linguistic thing that happens sometimes.
Yeah, and I think another thing for English speakers that don't get that, because our letter R is not at all pronounced that way. So when we see R, we're like R, and our mouth is open, and it's not, the tongue is not where it needs to be. And we're like, why can't I talk like that? It's like, because you don't have the L and R, L-A-R. So, all right, let's get started then with the lyrics of this song. So he's talking all about, New York, right? Like, so New Yorkers, Puerto Ricans live in New York, just kind of the experience. And I think, is it this video where it starts off where he asks like,
Y este frío.
Ajá.
¿Y este frío cuándo se acaba?
For sure. I mean, you can kind of see like a lot in those, like the parentheses are kind of showing up in multiple parts of the song, especially in that beginning when they start with this song of El Gran Combo. So it does start with a salsa song. So it starts with Un Verano en Nueva York, which is a song from El Gran Combo de Puerto Rico. And it's a very famous salsa song, and it's also ties in with the theme of Nueva York, right? We're talking about the diaspora, we're talking about the people who moved from Puerto Rico to New York and to establish their families, who ended up living there. And they were, obviously, when they get there, they're not used to the cold. Por eso, y este frío, ¿cuándo se acaba? Kind of hear that, because that's the general complaint of Puerto Ricans moving to New York. It's exciting, it's new, you're there for brand new opportunities, and then it's really freaking cold.
which for me is so very true today, which is why normally a week like this, I would be in Puerto Rico myself, but I had to shovel snow this morning. So this is where I am. I was thinking about it this morning, and I was like, "Ese frío.
¿Cuándo se acaba?" Right?
Like, when is it going to end, right? When is this over, right? So,
but I like those parentheses, because then it kind of showcases the experience of like the person first moving to New York, and it's kind of like, oh my God, it's so cold. When does this end? I don't know when, like, this whole season's changed. The seasons don't really change in Puerto Rico. It's summer all year long. I mean, sure, you have more, right? In our summer, it's a lot hotter, it's a lot drier. And then in the winter, it's a little bit colder, it's rainier. But in general, it's tropical season. So it's always summer, it's always hot. It's never that cold. It never snows in Puerto Rico. So all of these other new experiences when you move abroad are kind of represented by those parentheses that he includes in the beginning while he's playing this, this salsa song. And I'm going to bring it up later, because I feel like that also kind of connects the different generations. Because again, this is a song about the Puerto Rican diaspora, like 21st century Puerto Rican diaspora that's still in New York. But with El Gran Combo and the song Un Verano en Nueva York, that's also the experience of the diaspora, but back in the 70s. So it also connects generations of Puerto Ricans in the diaspora, right? This is not a new occurrence. Puerto Ricans have been living in New York for, I feel like, a century at this point, because we started moving when we got citizenship, which was in the early 1900s. It was 1917 when they officially made the Jones Act, and we got American citizenship as Puerto Ricans. So a lot of people started moving from that point, right? So again, we have mass, right? This is not the first time that there's been mass migration of Puerto Ricans. Mass migrations have been happening over time. So it's nice to connect like previous mass migrations to current mass migrations and kind of share in that experience of needing to leave your island for a variety of reasons. But then also connecting with people who are from your country or other countries. Because again, this song is not only about Puerto Ricans, it's about Dominicans, it's about Colombians, it's about Latinos in New York in general. So it's about finding that community away, it's that home away from home.
Right.
That's what it's really about. And again, Un Verano en Nueva York in the 70s was very influential. And now this song is also very influential nowadays, right? And in that moment, salsa was the predominant Latino music genre. So there was that salsa song, Un Verano en Nueva York. And nowadays with Dembow and reggaeton, those are the very influential Latino music in the US as well, in the Latino communities of the US. So it all kind of, it matches up pretty nicely, where you have this salsa song that was very influential and it was played a lot in the diaspora in New York around the 70s. And now you have this other song in the 2020s that is kind of doing the same thing in that modern context. Because again, they're using modern beats as well.
Right. Yeah. And I love the mix of it too, because when it starts out with salsa and then you hear this different mix of rhythms, but it's definitely a song you can dance to, which I think is the most important. Right?
Duh. Okay. I mean, it's never a Bad Bunny song if you can't dance to it.
Right. All right, so let's start with the first line of the song.
¿Verdad? So tenemos Si te quieres divertir con encanto y con primor. ¿Verdad? So this is just, right, if you want to have fun with lots of charm and kind of like very, like, oh, you used a really nice
beauty.
word.
like
Yeah,
beautiful
like
or
beauty, like splendor, right? That kind of thing. So it's like if we really want to have fun with beauty, with splendor, with charm, and then it follows through with the next one, ¿verdad? So tienes que vivir a dónde, right? Someone who's never, maybe this is their first time, like maybe this sounds a little bit like someone's recommending New York and they're like, where
right.
should I move? Like, should I go for it, right? ¿A dónde? And then un verano en Nueva York, ¿verdad? And then you hear that excitement, right? Nueva York, right?
And also un verano en Nueva York, not un invierno.
No, for sure. I mean, yeah.
El invierno en Nueva York, you never come
we're
back.
not going to mention the exactly. That's not the selling point, right? The selling point is summer in New York, but not winter in New York. But yeah. And then we have Cuatro de Julio, 4th of July, ando con mi prima, borracha Rulay, ¿verdad? So again, just like the music video, it came out on this date, right? So Cuatro de Julio, the 4th of July, it's American Independence Day, right? I'm with my cousin, in this case, a female cousin, prima. Borracha, ¿verdad? We're drunk. Y Rulay is actually a more of a Dominican word that we started using a lot in Puerto Rico. And it just means like ready to party, getting loose. You're a little bit probably under the influence of alcohol.
It's like pre-gaming has happened.
Yeah, exactly. Pre-gaming has happened. Pre-gaming has taken place. So you're kind of like ready to party. You're in this kind of hyped up mood, and it's the 4th of July, so it kind of makes sense also because you're already partying.
And this ando comes from the verb andar, right? So is that like I'm going out with my cousin? Like we're just kind of hanging out together.
Yeah, exactly. We're hanging out together, like we're going out together. So it's kind of like you're signaling that you are in a group of people. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm hanging out with my cousins. So if you want to hang out, it's like you're going to hang out with us, like as a group.
Sí. Yo tengo una pregunta sobre ese 4th of July. First of all, it's funny in the song. It happens even in the song with El Gran Combo. For me, when I first started learning, it was very confusing because of the Spanglish. And for me, because the accent is tan fuerte, I was like, wait, what was that word? I'm thinking in Spanish, and then I can't hear the English because it sounds so different. But it's like just throw it in. It's like Cuatro de Julio, 4th of July. And you're like, wait, what just happened? So that's one thing, right? It's like that's Spanglish. But also, do you guys celebrate 4th of July in Puerto Rico? Because I remember one year I randomly decided to get on a plane. I was like, I just need to go somewhere. 4th of July. I just took a flight to San Juan. And I remember going there and like, wait, there's no fireworks. It's like nobody cared. Like, because
basically,
does anybody celebrate 4th of July in Puerto Rico?
It is an official holiday. Like, do people get the day off from work on the 4th of July? Like, it is an official holiday in Puerto Rico because, again, we're part of the United States. So we conserve the day as a day off. But nobody really cares. So it's more of a, you celebrate it in your circles if you wish, like in your own social circles if you wish. But mostly people, what they do is they take the day and they usually go to the beach. That's mostly what we do. It's the middle of summer. It's July. Kids are already free from school. So they are in summer vacation already. So yeah, people are just kind of like, great, I have the day off, so I'm just gonna go to the beach with my kids, or I'm gonna go and hang out with my family. So we treat it kind of as a normal day. Some people do the whole fireworks situation, but it's not as big of a deal as the US.
So, it's not like here because like in New York, there would be like fireworks and like parades and stuff like that. So it is very different because I remember feeling that. I said, oh, this is interesting. Okay. And because this year also 4th of July is going to be different here because it's the 250th anniversary of the United States. Hopefully not the last, but that's another story. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how 4th of July is in New York this year. All right.
But yeah, for sure. But Puerto Ricans, we kind of we like it because it's another day off that we don't have to work and stuff like that. But it's not as big of a deal as it is in the US.
Right. All right,
ya los míos en el Bronx saben la que hay, ¿verdad? So my people in the Bronx, they know what's up, right? So it's kind of like showing that they have friends or they've created a community already in the Bronx.
And los míos is like mine, like literally those of mine, my people, right?
My people.
And this la que hay, that's like really Puerto Rican, right? This whole la que hay, que la que hay.
La que hay. For sure. And saben la que hay, so we use it in that sort of sense of like what's up, so they know what's up, or that kind of phrasing. So que es la que hay is what's up, so you can go up to someone and be like, huepa, que es la que hay. And it's kind of like, hey, what's up, what's going on? So like los míos en el Bronx saben la que hay is like my people, so my friends, my chosen family, whatever have you. You could also just call your family, like your real family, los míos, ¿verdad? Saben la que hay. It's kind of like, yeah, my people know what's up in the Bronx.
Yeah. And this is one of the things I always tell people, like, stop trying to translate like literally word for word, because if you start doing that, you get lost.
Yeah, it's not going to work out in the end. Because again, these are different languages, and languages are not only composed of words, but they're also composed of different connotations and like other subjective meaning and historical influences as well. So that's why translations never really pan out, because people change the meaning of things depending on the history, on the context of the connotation of different words. Right. So yeah, literal translation can get a little tricky, especially when you're not saying things literally, because like when you say los míos, you're not talking about owning people. Like that would be weird if you just translate
something different.
Very different, very weird. But in this case, it's just more like my people, like the people that I love, the people that I cherish. So definitely, especially with Bad Bunny songs, I don't recommend literally translating. Okay. Con la nota en high por Washington Heights, Willie Colón me dicen el malo, ¿verdad? So con la nota en high, ¿verdad? So la nota is when we get under the influence, usually of drugs. So in this case, he's probably maybe talking about weed. Like usually we say like la nota, but it can also be alcohol or other substances. So con la nota en high, so it's like I'm at the peak of my high. Like I'm
in high is also the Spanglish, right? Because
so it's part of that Spanglish, right? So con la nota en high, es como, right? We use high to mean that it's at its peak, right? So con la nota en high por Washington Heights, ¿verdad? Washington Heights, New York, ¿verdad? Willie Colón, ¿verdad? So Willie Colón is actually he was born in New York, but his parents are Puerto Rican, right? So we also consider that, right, Nuyorican or Puerto Rican as well, ¿verdad? So Willie Colón is a salsa artist, right? So he's a salsa artist who is American Puerto Rican, right? So, and he was the first salsa artist that really depicted himself as sort of like a gangster in his album covers. So he went for more of a gangster image. So that's why they start comparing Willie Colón with Bad Bunny, because they both have this sort of gangster image. So that's why he says also like me dicen el malo, ¿verdad? Willie Colón me dicen el malo, because he's Bad Bunny, and Willie Colón had this kind of like bad boy, like gangster image in his album covers. So he kind of compares himself with Willie Colón in that way.
So that me dicen el malo is like they're saying like I'm a bad guy or I'm the bad one.
Exacto. For sure. ¿Verdad? Porque pasan los años y sigo dando palos, vendiendo discos como Cuatro de Frida, Kahlo, ¿verdad? So
lots of references there.
Right? So as the years go by, I still give lots and lots of hits, ¿verdad? Sigo dando palo. This phrase is kind of like I keep hitting, ¿verdad? I keep hitting, I keep doing it again, right? So this is this sort of sensation of like I keep succeeding, I keep pushing out good music, right? People like my music, right? Sigo dando palo. So it's kind of like I keep pushing out hits, right? In this case. Vendiendo disco, right? Selling albums, como Cuatro de Frida Kahlo, ¿verdad? So like Frida Kahlo paintings. So we all know Frida Kahlo. She's a very famous Mexican artist. So here we have kind of a Mexican reference as well. So we're going to see lots of references of like American Puerto Rican artists, Mexicans, Dominicans as well. So this song is full of like Latin American references. So so he compares his music, like the hits of his music and his popularity, to the popularity of Frida Kahlo's paintings.
And I literally just saw a painting of Frida Kahlo. And if you don't know, it's like that. I always call it like the unibrow kind of thing. I was in Florida of all places, and it was just like at a restaurant. And I was like, it's Frida Kahlo. So yeah, she's still selling paintings, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, her image is everywhere. ¿Verdad? So el perico es blanco, sí, y el tusi rosita, ¿verdad? So I actually had to look up to see because I didn't know what that was. Pero now I know, ¿verdad? So el perico is another word for cocaine, right? So el perico blanco means like, yeah, cocaine is white. So he's just kind of describing it as it is. And then el tusi, ¿verdad? So el tusi is another type of substance or drug, right? So it's referred to as the pink cocaine. So, right. So he's kind of playing around with these like substances that are typically associated also with Latin Americans because they're right. Cocaine is associated with Latin crimes and Latin narcos, right? If you think narcos, you instantly think Colombians and you think Latinos, right? So he's kind of using that to his advantage. And later on, he kind of backtracks and he's like, best to avoid that. you know?
So perico, tusi, pero la palabra es cocaína, right?
Exactly. That is the proper word, right? Cocaína is the substance, cocaine. Like you can translate that literally, yes.
Yeah, but we don't want to we don't need to learn those. Like, let's go to the next one.
So then that's why he goes on to say, right? No te confundas. No. It's like, no, we're not stepping into those stereotypes. We're not doing that, right? Mejor evita. And it's like, it's best to avoid, right? So it's best to avoid that.
So that no te confundas is like, don't get it confused, right?
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it confused.
Right.
Exactly.
Mejor evita. So that's remember that line more than the previous line.
Exacto. If you learn anything, ¿verdad? So now you know the words and it's like mejor evita. So now you know, avoid it.
En evita es from evitar, to avoid.
Exactly. ¿Verdad? Un shot de cañita en casa de Toñita, PR se siente cerquita, ¿verdad? Sí. So shot, again, another English word. So that is like drinking alcohol, just like the Pitbull song, right? Shots, right?
Shots,
so un shot de cañita. Cañita is a type of moonshine that we make in Puerto Rico. So it's homemade liquor. You can also compare it to pitorro, right? So pitorro, cañita, it's usually kind of in the same area because again, pitorro is another type of, and I don't even know if the two are the same or not, or if it has some kind of difference because pitorro can be made from so many things. Right. You just have to, like, you can make pitorro de tamarindo, de coco, de piña, like, so one of those types is probably the one that you're referring to. Y, ¿verdad? En casa de Toñita. So Toñita is actually a very famous social club in New York, and it's called Toñita's Caribbean Social Club. So it's actually been there for a really long time. I don't know when it was opened, but basically it's always been a place where Latinos and Puerto Ricans can feel at home, right? So it's kind of that, again, that feeling of home away from home, because I go to Toñitas and I drink cañita, which is something that is very familiar to us as a liquor. And, right, PR feels close, right? So you start to feel like you're at home.
So that se siente cerquita. It's like it feels close. And cerquita also, this is also like very common, right? In Caribbean Spanish, use of the diminutive, because this is from the word cerca, cerca, which means close to, but this is cerquita.
Yeah, so. And also Toñita. Toñita is another diminutive because it should be Toña. Toña is kind of like a nickname for women who are named Antonia.
Okay.
So probably Toñita's full name is Antonia. But we use the diminutive as well to kind of signify that kind of closeness. So if somebody lets you call her Toñita, it's probably because you're close and you see them as someone that you care about, that you cherish. So Toñita, ¿verdad? And then cerquita, ¿verdad? So PR se siente cerquita. But yeah, we use the diminutive a lot in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it's like a nickname of a nickname.
Exactly, kind of, yeah. Y después tengo el campeonato, nadie me lo quita, ¿verdad? And then I really like that other section, especially in the music video, because he plays the moment where Tito Trinidad was actually saying those lines.
The best in the world. Number one, the best in the world, okay? Puerto Rico.
Of like, number one, the best in the world, ¿verdad?
Yeah, yeah.
So when he says el campeonato, he means that championship, right? Because Tito Trinidad won 3 championships in 3 different categories of boxing. So that's what really made him a very famous boxer. And the fact that he was able to defend his title, right? That championship, he was able to defend it 15 times.
Wow.
Yeah, so he has a couple of records in the boxing industry. So when Bad Bunny says that he has the championship, he's talking about, right, like Tito Trinidad. So nobody can take it away from him.
Yeah, nadie me lo quita, so no one can take it away.
Exacto, nadie me lo quita, nobody can take it away. Exacto. Oh, I love this one. Okay. ¿Verdad? So, ¿cómo Bad Bunny va a ser rey del pop con reggaetón y dembow? ¿Verdad? So, this was a reference to 2023 where there was a magazine. It was Forbes. Forbes magazine in 2023 made him the king of pop. So they gave him the title of king of pop in 2023 to Bad Bunny. And he kind of plays around with this title because it's like, I'm not a pop artist. I'm a reggaeton and dembow artist, right? So I'm kind of like a Latin artist. So I'm not a pop artist. So he kind of plays around with that. It's like, how is it possible that I am the king of pop when my music genres are reggaeton and dembow?
Well, I think this is interesting too, because it also speaks to one, I think his popularity. And I think what happens to any artist in any genre, that label of pop music can almost seem derogatory, and it's almost like offensive. It's like, how dare you say that I'm pop music? No, this is who I really am. And the same tension happened with hip hop, which is another genre from New York, where when hip hop became more popular, it became called pop music, and hip hop artists would like fight against, like, this is not pop.
Rap is not pop. If you call it that, then stop.
So I feel like the same thing's happening with like reggaeton and dembow, and he's just like saying that it's not possible. But I think the irony, just like with hip hop music,
the irony is that pop music,
but he's doing the Super Bowl. Like, how much more pop can you get?
Exactly, right? Because again, like, the word pop just means popular. Right? So if it's popular, it is technically pop. That is why pop music is also so diverse. Yeah. Because again, it is just popular music. So music that gets popular is technically labeled pop. But I like that he kind of clarifies that. It's like, no, these genres are not in this umbrella term of pop. These genres have their own names. They have their own histories, and they should be called for what they are, right? They should be called by their names, reggaeton and dembow, right? Don't just label everything that's popular as pop. Call it for what it is. You know, so me siento como el lápiz encapea el do, right? So I feel like el lápiz, which is a singer, right? Encapea del do, right? So Capea del Do is a song that is Dominican, it's Dominican rap, right? So Capea el Do has had multiple versions of it because Capea el Do is like several songs because it has several versions, but it's also the instrumental that they use for that song. And
so what is capea?
Capear is kind of like going to get substances somewhere.
Okay. So then this would be one I would translate, and I hate to use the term because they also, I think we're not supposed to say Ebonics. What is it? African American Vernacular English, which I also hate all of those words. The bottom line is like, so when I hear that, it makes sense because it's like cop the dough. So it's like, I'm going to get this money. To me, it's like, if I say capeo do, it's like I'm going to cop something. And cop would mean go take something because, you know, the cops or police don't have the reputation for doing the right things all the time, right? So copying something is like, I'm going to take something like aggressive. This is mine. And el lápiz is weird too because that just means pencil. So I don't even know what that's about.
Okay.
But like,
capea el do has that similar meaning, right? So capea el do is like getting that dough, getting that money, right? So it is a song, and basically it's this Capea el Do is considered an anthem. It's considered an anthem for Dominican pop, right? For Dominican rap, excuse me. So Dominican rap, Dominican reggaeton, Dominican dembow. This song is kind of a staple in their genre, right, of music. And basically in the original version of the song, because there's multiple, like I said before. So in that original song, there were verses by this artist called Lápiz Consciente. So that's his full name. So Lápiz Consciente or participated in the original version of this song, Capea el Do, right? And his verses in the song, because he's not the only artist in that version of Capea el Do. There are other artists as well. So in his verses in the song, those were really considered like they were very influential in the Dominican sphere and in Dominican music, especially in rap music, right? In this Dominican rap music. And that's how he was able to consolidate his title as the king or the father of rap, el papá del rap in the Dominican Republic. So that's why he kind of compares the previous line with this. So it's like, how can Bad Bunny be the king of pop with reggaeton and dembow? So it's kind of this idea of like, is Lápiz Consciente el rey o ¿verdad? El papá del rap when he was singing probably something like dembow or something like that, right? So it kind of, and it's also a point of controversy because some people say that maybe Lápiz isn't the king or the father of rap in Dominican Republic, but some people say that he is. So it's that also that kind of controversy of whether he is or he isn't, depending on who, right? It's kind of a debate. So yeah. ¿Verdad? Cuando yo nací fue que nació el flow, ¿verdad? So when I was born, that's when flow was born, right? So the concept of flow in Puerto Rico is very important, especially if you're listening to reggaeton. I feel like you've probably already gotten what the concept of flow is. But basically, flow is like being cool. Es como, ¿verdad? So you got to dress the part, you got to talk the part, you got to, you know, have the correct network or like social sphere. So you have to be social, you have to go to parties, you have to be popular, you have to dress well, you have to talk the talk and walk the walk, ¿verdad? So when you see someone and you're like, oh, they're cool, then you're like, él tiene flow, ella tiene flow, ¿verdad? So he says that when I was born was when flow was born, because then he was just automatically born with flow. And I'm
very
like, okay.
modest, very modest. I think that's funny too, because so this is also another very Spanglish kind of term, but also it comes from hip hop, right? Because flow in hip hop, it really just meant that you knew how to rhyme, like your lyrics, like you had flow. So it's like, so in this sense, it's kind of been expanded a little bit more because we don't really use it in that sense of like for everything, like swag in general. It's just like, oh yeah, you have flow. That just means you're like a very good lyricist. The way that you rhyme kind of flows, but it does have to do with style. So it has like a very similar connotation.
Yeah. It also like these words like flow, right? When they talk about flow and the similarities between reggaeton, right? Reggaeton is a mixture of other sounds from Latin America and the US. So reggaeton is actually very influenced by other places in the Caribbean as well as the United States, because we did take hip hop. So rap music, hip hop influenced what is now considered reggaeton, or what Daddy Yankee started as reggaeton. So influenced by hip hop, influenced by Jamaican reggae and dancehall, and also Panamanian reggae en español. So you take all of these different Caribbean genres and this genre from African Americans in the United States, and this combination leads to what is known as Puerto Rican reggaeton, right? So our very distinctive reggaeton music. So that's why I kind of like this song a lot, because it really captures that idea of New York as well, because New York is that melting pot of all of these different Latino communities coming together. And you can see that through the music, because again, we would not have reggaeton without hip hop, without rap music, without reggae en español. We wouldn't have, or because of dance hall and reggae in Jamaica. So you need all of these different cultures to get this beautiful thing, you know, the thing that everybody likes and enjoys.
And it's very similar to salsa as well, because people, it's like this controversial thing. Like when I first started this podcast, there was this question of like, well, where did salsa come from? And that's another point of controversy. And I always say it came from New York. I'm sorry. Like it is an American thing. It is a mix of different Latino cultures. So yes, it has roots in Puerto Rico, has roots in Cuba, as you know, in son, and but like Latin jazz and all of these things. But those people kind of met in New York, and that term salsa was actually coined by Fania Records, which is a New York label. So as much as it's Latino, it's also very American. And New York, like you said, is this melting pot of just like all these cultures of even different Latinos getting together who hadn't seen each other, you know, in their home countries. It's like now everyone's together, and they're like, oh, we have this new identity that didn't exist, because when you're in Puerto Rico, you're not talking about being Puerto Rican, but when you're outside of Puerto Rico, it's like everybody has a Puerto Rican flag in their car, right? So it's just like one of those things that comes out of being in the diaspora.
For sure, and that's why I listened to one of Bad Bunny's interviews, and he was talking about NUEVAYoL and why he decided to put that song in the beginning of the album as the first song of the album. And he was talking about all of these connections, right? Because Puerto Rico and New York, right? We not only have history because of our connection with the US as being a territory, as being American citizens, but also other Latinos have history in New York as well, right? With all of the melting pot of Dominicans, Cubans, Mexicans, Colombians. I mean, I could go on. The list is, I mean, it's all of Latin America.
Well, it's like that part in the video where it pauses and he has that radio broadcast.
I want to say that this country is nothing without the immigrants. This country is nothing without Mexicans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Colombians, Venezuelans, Cubans, Honduras.
That comes on,
exactly.
You know, and they're basically naming all those cultures, you know.
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
sure.
America is the whole continent, I know, but like we've got the Colombians and Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and all that.
Exactly, right? So we have all of these people, and he really wanted to showcase that as kind of the starting point of his album. He wanted to show people that we haven't excluded our Puerto Ricans or our Latinos in the US, right? They're still a part of who we are and our identity, because again, it was part of history. Like there was a reason why a lot of Puerto Ricans and lots of Latinos have moved to the US, right? Economic troubles, political issues, geopolitics. Again, there's so many reasons why so many families had to move from their home countries to the US to have better lives and pursue opportunities. So he really wanted to showcase, right, that connection with history of New York and Puerto Rico. So tenemos de lado a lado, ping pong, flow pesado, big pun, ¿verdad? Así que tenemos de lado a lado, ping pong, ¿verdad? So he's kind of showing you that sort of like ping pong, so going side to side, which can also, I feel like this is just my interpretation, but I feel like it can also be this sort of like jumping back and forth from your life in the United States or the life that you've created in your diaspora versus the life that you have back home with your family, with your island, with your people. So kind of like going side to side, right? So de lado a lado, ping pong, right? So from side to side, ping pong. Flow pesado, right? So heavy flow, like instant, like that flow, like flow heavy, right? Big Pun, ¿verdad? So Big Pun is another rapper. And Big Pun basically also is known for his heavy music, right? So his heavy beats and this kind of like probably like heavy bass.
Well, Big Pun was also, if Big Pun is, may he rest in peace, was also like very heavy, like literally heavy. He's a big dude. He's a big dude.
A big guy, right? So again, right, all of that kind of flows together. And I really like that he does this because I feel like Puerto Ricans, we use a lot of pop culture references when we speak.
Yeah.
So I feel like this also, right, is very representative of how Puerto Ricans speak to each other. So we talk about the diaspora, we talk about ourselves, we kind of make these cultural references like, oh, I have a very heavy, ¿verdad? Tengo un flow pesado como Big Pun, ¿verdad? Así que we make a lot of references with people. So I feel like if you, I mean, I even missed out. I had to look up who Big Pun was because I didn't know about him. So,
I see. So and that's the other thing too. It's like as a hip hop head, I was like, oh yeah, Big Pun. I was like,
yeah. So it's those kinds of moments where maybe you know who Big Pun is, but maybe you don't know who Willie Colón is, and then you kind of miss out on a specific reference because again, there's so much there.
Which I think is a great thing about this, like you said, like he is connecting all of these desperate like cultures and people, different generations, different music genres, so that you take from it what you get, but you also are learning about things you didn't know, right? Exactly. Because also as a salsera, I know who Willie Colón is, right? But like, and I've been to Puerto Rico a dozen times, but like other people, like I don't know what any of this is. I just like the beat, right?
Exacto, yeah. And I mean, I feel like that's pretty normal for everyone. Even I sometimes just enjoy the music, and I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. Like, ¿verdad? Y con silenciador le robamos las gatas James Bond, ¿verdad? O James Bond, como él dice en la canción, ¿verdad? So con silenciador, ¿verdad? With a silencer, we steal, technically the literal translation would be the cats, but we use it to mean like the ladies, the girls, the attractive girls, right? So le robamos las gatas, James Bond, ¿verdad? So we're stealing all of the girls from hypothetical men or hypothetical other people, right? So it's just kind of this idea of like, we're so cool, we have so much flow that even the ladies just want to hang out with us. So it's easy to steal the ladies from you. So we're like James Bond. We don't need to make a lot of noise, ¿verdad? Con silenciador le robamos la gata, James Bond, ¿verdad?
Yeah, silencer, unfortunately. Silencer of a gun, you know. So there we go.
Exactly. ¿Verdad? Yo estoy en la mía, no tengo adversario, ¿verdad? So, I mean, ¿verdad? We say this a lot, ¿verdad? To be, ¿verdad? Estar en la mía, ¿verdad? Yo estoy en la mía, o tú estás en la tuya, ¿verdad? So this just means that you're just doing your own thing, ¿verdad? So yo estoy en la mía, I'm doing my own thing, ¿verdad? So eso es lo mismo, ¿verdad? So yo estoy en la mía, he's talking about like, I'm doing my own thing, y no tengo adversarios, ¿verdad? So I don't have like adversaries, I don't have enemies, ¿verdad? So yo estoy en la mía, I'm doing my own thing, no tengo adversarios, I have no enemies, ¿verdad? Con los Yankees y los Mets Juan Soto, ¿verdad? A correr que otra vez la sacamos del estadio, ¿verdad? So this is baseball referencing because again, right, baseball is big in Puerto Rico as well as Dominican Republic. That's why he's talking about Juan Soto. Juan Soto is a Dominican baseball player. He plays for the Mets. But yeah, so again, like we have plenty of Latino, Puerto Rican, Caribbean, right, Dominican baseball players in the US that play for lots of teams. Like the Mets. So he mentions Juan Soto, right? The Dominican baseball player. And then a correr, right? So run. So this is all a baseball reference, ¿verdad? So a correr que otra vez la sacamos del estadio, ¿verdad? So again, this is like we hit the ball out of the park. So like a home run, like baseball. So a correr, ¿verdad? Go run. Because again, we've hit it out of the park, ¿verdad? La sacamos del estadio.
So like the whole vibe of this is he's comparing himself to every I guess successful Puerto Rican, Dominican, like everyone. It's like I'm like all of these people. That's me. That's who I am.
Exactly. Right. So there you go. Right. So that's kind of the idea that you're kind of comparing yourself to a lot of successful Latinos in the US, because again, that's what we went to the US to do. We went there to search for opportunities, to live out our dreams, to be successful. And this is what these Latinos have done. They've been successful in their particular fields, and that's what they always wanted to do.
And then after this, like, so then he kind of repeats the chorus at the beginning of the song again. And in this part, I thought is kind of funny. So like you can break this part down.
I had a lot of trouble breaking up this part of the song because I couldn't really find some kind of reference. Like we've seen before, like all of these references to rap music, Dominican rap music, Puerto Rican reggaeton and Dembow, and like Willie Colón, so Salsa, all of these types of musical references. But then I couldn't really find anything about this lyric about, ¿verdad? Shh, cuidado que nadie nos escuche. So I started to kind of analyze it and start to think about like maybe some of the cultural differences between living in Puerto Rico and living in New York. Because, right, she's the translation of this lyric would be, ¿verdad? Shh, cuidado, ¿verdad? So cuidado means to be careful. Que nadie nos escuche, right? So this means like, don't let anyone hear us. ¿Verdad? And basically what I'm starting to think is that, for example, in Puerto Rico, when you play loud music, when you have a party, nobody's really going to call the police on you. Like probably your neighbors are just going to be like, oh, they're just having a party. Well, let them have fun. It's fine. And then they just go to sleep. And we don't really mind it because we're used to loud music. I mean, you've seen the Latino kids pull up the plastic chairs at a party and be asleep by like until 4 a.m. on the plastic chairs, just sleeping with the music blaring on top of us, you know? So we're very used to a very loud environment, you know, and it's very cultural and it's very normal for us. We don't think much about it. But I think that the fact that this song is about New York, I'm starting to think that of maybe this cultural change of like, oh, we're in New York. So if we make a lot of noise, people will call the police on us or tell us to shut up or to turn the music down or say something, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, be careful with the noise because you don't want other people to hear and, you know, call the cops on you or tell you to like put the noise down or like lower the noise or lower the volume, you know?
Yeah,
so
and this part of the song, it's
that was what he was going for, but I can't really say for sure if that's what he meant.
well, and it's also really hard to hear. So, like at this part of the song, it starts to transition more into like a, I guess, more like a dembow kind of flow, and like it starts going. You just start to hear like this drum beat, and then it's like shh, and he's literally whispering this part, so it's really hard to hear anyway. So he's like, yeah. So I had a hard time just even hearing what he was saying. And so I think you could be right, because also it reminds me of the little short video he did for Evita and Más Fotos, where the old man is sitting there with the little coqui and he's like, I remember when the neighborhood sounded different and like people used to play music and the young people would be driving and I would hear the music blaring from the cars and I don't hear that anymore.
Mira eso, tremendo. Por aquí no pasaba un carro así que con música hace, chacho.
yo no sé cuánto tiempo.
Yo creo que yo nunca había visto uno.
No, si te digo, ya eso casi ni se ve.
And the little Coqui says to him, then why don't you do it? And he's like, okay.
Actually, he's not a coqui. He's actually a sapo concho. So he's
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
didn't
he's
even
sapo
know.
concho, ¿verdad? That's why his name is Concho. So
Ah.
sapo concho is another type of frog, but he is still very endemic to Puerto Rico, just like the coqui. So they're both like endemic species of frogs. But then the sapo concho is bigger than the coqui. The coqui is pretty small, like they're very
Yeah, he's like a little,
tiny.
looks like a little frog.
Yeah.
almost,
But
yeah.
a sapo concho looks like a normal toad or a frog, so they're quite
Yeah.
big.
See, now I learned something. Because I just hear, I see the frog and I hear the noise.
Right,
And I
yeah,
just think,
I mean,
"Coqui?"
a lot of people think that, I mean, even Puerto Ricans, we thought it was a coqui. Let's be
Okay.
real, okay? Some people who don't, I mean, if you're not an expert in the field, it's just,
Yeah.
like, I mean, especially,
It's a frog, yeah.
yeah, and it's a stop motion animation, so it could be a
True.
coqui, or it could, but then they explained and they named him Concho, so a lot of people
Right.
picked up on the fact that it was a sapo concho, and yeah, they kind of corrected the population, and now everybody is like, yeah, it's a sapo concho, it's not a coqui.
Yeah, but he's saying like, just you play the loud music, right? So if you want to hear that, so maybe you could be right. So yeah. So then the song does kind of switch. There's not that many lyrics like after this, but so we just want to go over a few more lines. But so yeah, so I think a lot of the song it's more of like the salsa rhythm that it starts out with from the song from El Gran Combo, but the song also switches like quite a lot with the rhythms. And then at this point, it kind of to me it sounds more like Dembow. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, then he starts with that kind of, that is more Dembow. Like definitely he goes into this Dembow beat of like, tú tienes piquete, mami, yo también, tú estás buena, yo estoy bueno también, right? It follows that sort of rhythm in the song as well, which is very typical of Dembow, right? So tú tienes piquete, right, is like you have style, or you have kind of, again, like that flow, ¿verdad? So tienes piquete, right? So you're cool, you look attractive, right? You got something to you, ¿verdad? Tú tienes piquete, mami, so like girl, ¿verdad? O honey, I guess, ¿verdad? Tú tienes piquete, mami, yo también. So it's like, I also have this flow, have this style, have this thing. Y tú estás buena, ¿verdad? So estar bueno, estar buena is another expression that we use to mean that you are attractive, right? So estar buena is like you are hot, you are attractive, ¿verdad? So tú estás buena, yo estoy bueno también, ¿verdad? So we're both hot.
So yeah, so this isn't like yo estoy bien, right? Like I feel good. It's like, no, you're hot. Like
it's like you're hot and I'm hot, so we should get together.
Which sounds, this is normal conversation at a party.
¿Verdad? Huelo rico is like I smell good. Y ando con los de 100, so it means that I have money. Because again, like con los de 100 is like with the money, like $100 bills. ¿Verdad? So ando con los de 100 is like, oh, I have the $100 bills on me. You know? ¿Verdad? Si tú los quieres, lo tienes que mover, ¿verdad? So if you want the $100 bills, you gotta shake it.
You have to move. Lo tiene que mover. It's a different kind of mover.
Yeah.
Which is different from mudar, which is like to move residences, right?
Exactly.
So mover. So I think that's a common mistake.
Yeah. So mover is to move, but then mudar is to like move to a different place, like move locations. Yeah.
So I think we've covered it. That was pretty much NUEVAYoL by Bad Bunny, or NUEVAYoL.
You can call it, you can say Nueva York or NUEVAYoL or New York, whichever one you want.
Yeah. Entonces, gracias, Adriana. Thank you so much for this conversation. I hope folks have learned a lot, not just about Bad Bunny and getting ready for the Super Bowl, Benito Bowl, but also just about language and Puerto Rican Spanish and culture. So thank you so much for your time and sharing that with us on the podcast today.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. It was a great opportunity to not only talk about Bad Bunny and his music, but also talking about the deeper things, right? So connecting outside of your home country, connecting with other people from other cultures, and kind of seeing the effects of that, like the beautiful effects of that, because again, all of this beautiful combinations of languages and music created this beautiful song that we just talked about today. So thanks for the opportunity.
Gracias. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Thank you for listening to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast at learnspanishconsalsa.com.